We've all seen it. President Trump's ankles are swollen, and his hand. This video was from 2 days ago, and you can see some really bad makeup covering what are obviously bruises on his right hand. And this isn't the first time we've seen this kind of thing. And it has people concerned about Trump's health. Of course, there's a lot of speculation on the internet about what health problems Trump could be suffering from. But what's really going on with him? Well, the White House press secretary addressed it today, and I'm going to play you the whole clip. It's a little bit long, but it's important, so I'm going to show it to you now, and then we'll talk on the other side.
The president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here.
The White House also put out this letter from the president's doctor, Sean Barbella. It says the exact same thing Caroline Leavitt just said in the press briefing. She literally just read this letter verbatim. Officially, President Trump has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency. He went through a bunch of tests that the White House says ruled out deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. The letter also says Trump shows no sign of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness. And it says that the hand bruising is coming from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin. So how is Trump being treated for this chronic venous insufficiency?
Is it causing him any discomfort? How are you treating it?
Nope, no discomfort from the president at all, and you probably all see that on a day-to-day basis. He's working around the clock. As for the treatments, I can defer to the president's physician, and we'll get you this letter. I think it will answer all your questions.
The fact is, the letter says nothing about how Trump is being treated. But if you want to read this letter for yourself from Trump's doctor, I'm going to email it out to you in my Facts HQ email tonight, so make sure you sign yourself up.
Breaking news about the president's health. He's been recently diagnosed with ugly stupiditis. And there is no cure. And it is contagious.
Maybe we don't like Donald Trump just because he's an asshole. You know? Like, isn't that enough? He could have fantastic policies, but he's also just a jerk. He's also hateful. I don't know about you, but there's not a single movie or story or real life example of a hateful person being a successful leader. He's a crotchety old man who calls 50% of the country scum. Who should we pick to be the leader? Pick the asshole. Pick the jerk. I think that sounds like a good idea, right? Maybe we just don't like him for that. And that's enough.
Hi everyone and welcome to Global Gist with BJ, right? How are you all doing? I hope you're good. I hope you're fine. Let me see that in the comment section because I truly care about you, right? So let's discuss about this Donald Trump's, ongoing health condition that he's been diagnosed of, some heart kind of condition, right? That has caused the swellings on his ankles and a lot of, stuffs on his wrists that got people talking. I really do not know why people are so eager for this man to pass. Why are you all eager? I will not be a party to that. No, I don't subscribe to that. Right? I do not. Now, a lot of people are saying so many things. There have been speculation that by January, that Pence is going to take over from him because they don't see him, being able to do anything in January. And I'm like, are you God? Are you God? How? How can people be this heartless? Why do you wish death on someone? No, we don't do that here, right? It's all love from this side. So it doesn't matter what Donald Trump is doing. We still wish him well. Recently I've always said it. I look at the way he do things and I'm like, this man might be sick. He might not be fine. And aside that, he could be suffering from one of those old age diseases as well. Yeah, he can. Because he's 80 something, for crying out loud. Even if he decides to close his eyes in death today, I believe he lived quite longer. My own dad passed at 69. So that is it. I don't see the reason why. You can say he's very incompetent, right? He's not going as it should. A lot of things he's doing, right, is affecting some innocent people, but wishing him to pass, no. I'm not going to be a part of it. So you guys, let's see what people on the streets are saying about Donald Trump's health, and then we'll be back with the commentaries. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. I'll be back.
Chronic venous insufficiency. That was the diagnosis that we heard today from the Village Idiot's dipshit press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, that Donald Trump is suffering from that particular ailment. She said it's benign. It's no big deal. Older people get it. That's certainly true. I mean, I don't know anything about that particular problem, but there's plenty of reporting today that that's a thing. It's very common. Older people can get it. And under any other presidential administration, Democratic or Republican, it would be the end of the story. There would be no reason to think about it anymore, right? It would just be like, all right, shit happens. But in this situation, we have to remind ourselves that they lie. The Trump administration lies. They lie about everything. They lie about big things. They lie about small things. They lie about all things. And we always have to assume that when they're telling us something, it's either a straight up lie, it's a partial truth, or it's some kind of misinformation. Now, it's possible, it seems reasonable that there isn't any here. That maybe for some reason, although they keep trying to sell us on the idea that the village idiot Donald Trump is the picture of perfect health, that he's an Adonis in the body of an old man, that he is an athlete, that he is a king, that he has extraordinary genes. They've been telling us that for 10 years now. And if you combine that with the idea that they always lie, a non-conspiratorial person would ask themselves, well, why now? Why are they finally owning up to the truth? Why are they telling us this stuff? Why aren't they usually lying, just saying his health is perfect? There's been some speculation on social media that maybe it's because they're feeling so much heat because of the Epstein scandal from their own constituency, that anything they can think of at all to distract the MAGA faithful who are really mad at Donald Trump for covering up the Epstein files or whatever there is, anything that they can throw out there, and maybe throwing out there what might actually be the truth about a particular portion of his health might be something that'll throw them off balance and make them forget about Epstein. Although I would expect even that kind of asinine strategic effort wouldn't be beneath the stupidity of Donald Trump and the people surrounding him, it still feels like a stretch. So I'm still left, personally, to ponder whether the village idiot has chronic venous insufficiency, and that's it, or whether he has more stuff, and that's just the best that they could tell, the least that they could tell us, because maybe he's going to need a procedure or something soon, and he's going to kind of disappear from public life for a while, or whatever. But I just don't know, because you can't know, because they never tell the truth.
Over the last few days, people started noticing that Donald Trump had makeup on his hands, presumably covering up some of those big bruises we've seen lately. And then the other day, people noticed that his ankles were ridiculously swollen. And they're like, what's going on? What's going on with this guy physically? And today we find out Trump diagnosed with chronic condition that undermines the flow of blood from his heart. What? You expect us to believe this dude has a heart? Hey, get out of here. Fake news.
Being evil is very bad for your health, and there's no better example than looking at Donald Trump lately. So you've seen all these photos of him sitting down where you could see his ankles, and both of his ankles are swollen to the size of basketballs. And just this morning, his press secretary came out and said that he's suffering from chronic venous insufficiency, meaning he's not getting proper blood flow to parts of his body, and I would say to parts of his brain. We've seen all the videos of him for years now not being able to stand straight, where he has to stand on an angle, which a lot of people call the Louis lean, and which is another sign of Alzheimer's dementia. Not to mention that big black wound that's on the top of his hand that he's now covering with the same makeup that he puts on his face, and the recent videos of him at this UFC fight where you could see in his pants that he's wearing a catheter that leads to a colostomy bag. So being evil, it'll catch up to you.
Donald Trump is going to die. Not today, but sometime soon, because he was just announced to have a chronic vein condition. And while the condition itself is not fatal, if it's paired with anything else, it very well could be. This condition causes swelling of the lower extremities, as well as easy bruising and possible blood clotting. And the man is almost 80 years old. It's about time. If you look at any pictures, his ankles look like fucking elephant legs. His body is obviously not doing well. They're trying to use makeup to cover up the bruises on his hands and arms in order to hide the fact that Donald Trump's health is declining at a rapid rate. And even though he has the best medical care in the entire country, he's 80 years old. So even though the guys with the pew-pews didn't get him, it looks like his own heart will. And that's funny because I didn't even know he had one.
You do not get chronic venous insufficiency without having anything else going on. Hi, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 30 years. Been a cardiac nurse specialist for years. This is truly my wheelhouse. I made a video about an hour ago where I explained things a little bit more in depth. But that was really the takeaway. Because your vessels within your body are all made up of the same thing. They're all made up of endothelial cells. So if you have insufficient blood flow, either going to or from, in your legs, then I guarantee you've got insufficient blood flow going to other things. Now, everything has blood flow to it because that's how everything gets oxygenated blood. Your carotid arteries give blood to your squash, to your brain. So when they become blocked, oftentimes, that's how we have a stroke, right? Your coronary arteries are what lies on top of your heart that really supplies your heart with oxygenated blood. When those become blocked, you have a heart attack. Whether it be renal insufficiency because your kidneys aren't getting enough oxygenated blood, maybe your liver's not getting enough oxygenated blood, but I'm telling you what, it's not just his legs. It just can't be. It just can't be. The other thing too, with that man's weight and with what he eats, I could almost bet the farm he's got blood sugar issues. And if he's got blood sugar issues, if he's got hyperglycemia, diabetes, the sugar, he is 50% more likely to have peripheral vascular disease or coronary artery disease, diseases of these vessels. So that's pretty much my takeaway. They ain't telling us all the truth because you don't just get ankles that look like Hinkle's tree trunks like that for no reason.
I'm a nurse. I've got about 12 years of experience, and the majority of that has been in cardiac nursing. So I know a thing or two about heart conditions and medications that people take when they have heart conditions. Now, I'm sure you've all heard the news that Caroline Levitt got up and told the world the reason that Trump's hands were bruised was from frequent handshaking, and that's because he's on aspirin, which is a routine cardiac prevention or care, I think is what she said. But I want to tell you something, a little something. Doctors no longer recommend aspirin as a preventative measure unless you already have some existing conditions. So it's unlikely that's the reason that he's on aspirin if that's all he's on. Now, speaking as a nurse and from what I've observed from the pictures that I've seen online and noticing some of his behaviors with the ankle swelling and the bruising and then him being tired quite a bit. And this is just my opinion based on my observations. I am not a doctor. I don't have access to his medical records. So this is not an official diagnosis by any stretch of the imagination. But the bruising that he's got is likely from something stronger than aspirin, like a known blood thinner that we give patients that have cardiac conditions like AFib or had a stent or something like that. The tiredness could mean that he's on a beta blocker, which is a very common medication given to people with cardiac conditions, which slows your heart rate down and makes you more tired. The swollen ankles can be a sign of retaining fluid. It could be venous insufficiency, but it also could be, and is more likely, it is fluid overload, which is a symptom of heart failure. Now, heart failure is not necessarily a fatal condition, although I think the number is like 50% of the people that have it don't survive past 10 years. It can be managed with medications, but I would say that his swelling is more related to something like heart failure than venous insufficiency. Venous insufficiency, I guess, could cause swelling. People wear compression stockings for that reason, but that alone, knowing that he has access to, the top doctors in the world, can be pretty easily managed and fixed with surgery. I think it's more likely that he has heart failure of some sort. Now, whether that's from AFib or a heart attack or something like that, I don't know. Given his lifestyle and his weight and the fact that he eats high sodium foods, heart failure with fluid retention is probably a lot more likely. Given the bruising on his hands, I would imagine that he's on something stronger than aspirin, something like Plavix or like Eliquis or Brilinta or Xarelto, something along those lines, all of which are only prescribed to people who have a history of things like AFib, which can also cause your heart to not pump effectively and lower your ejection fraction, which is a diagnostic criteria for heart failure, or one of the diagnoses or criteria. I think he's probably sicker than they're letting on. Just my opinion as a nurse.
So here's a little update on President Trump. Health-wise, he's not doing very well. He hasn't been able to stand up straight since, forever. His ankles are very swollen and continue to stay swollen for the past 10 days now, according to some sources. And his hands are staying bruised. As seen in this little snippet, he's actually using makeup to cover up the bruises. And hey, by the way, that's technically gender-affirming care. Also, Iran has a $40 million, almost $50 million now, bounty on Trump's head. And a lot of people would say, that's really nothing to worry about. Except a lot of people don't understand the fact that Iran is one of the leading countries in drone development. But let's not forget that the U.S. government and military are completely oblivious to how to take down drones as far as defense goes. I think we all remember the last year and a half in New Jersey and the entire continental United States. It's random drones everywhere. Nobody could figure out who they were. Nobody could shoot one down. So maybe he does have something to worry about. And he has officially sent more weapons to Ukraine. Hey, MAGA, conservatives in general, what happened to America first? It's a lot of money going overseas to a war that we shouldn't be involved in. In a war he said he could stop the first day of his presidency. Y'all been real quiet lately.
A lot of people are saying very nasty, very mean things about my swollen legs, like they look like a baby hippo trapped in a pillowcase, or a can of biscuits about to explode. But we have a doctor, a very good doctor, who said I have venous insufficiency. And frankly, I don't know if I agree with him, because I think my veins are very sufficient. And a lot of people say I am the most vain person they've ever met. They say, you're very vain. So I think my veins are very powerful in my legs. Having big ankles is better than having tiny little ankles like Joe Pencil Leg Biden. That's what we called him, Pencil Leg Biden. I came up with that because he had legs like little mechanical pencils, and my legs are like those big oversized Sharpies, and they're permanent. They're not going anywhere. And you know who else had big ankles? Was Godzilla. Very powerful animal, Godzilla. And he could climb and breathe fire, and he conquered Japan.
People are concerned about Trump's health now that they've seen the back of his hand when he was with the president of France. And you know what this is reminding me of? This is reminding me of when Queen Elizabeth was photographed giving a handshake to, I think it was the Prime Minister of the UK, and people were zooming into her hand, and they saw that she had really big bruises on her hand, and they were concerned about her health and about how long she was going to live. Well, yeah, she passed away just a couple of days after that picture got taken. I don't know if people are piecing these two events together or if anybody's linking these two things together, but I did whenever I first saw it. Even though having a bruise on your hand over here isn't that big of a deal, usually it just means you were hospitalized at some point or had an IV treatment, or maybe you got some injury to it or whatever. But I really did link these two things together, and I don't know how to put this, but I don't know how I would feel about J.D. Vance becoming president.
As a retired medical professional, there's a few key points that people are failing to mention when it comes to a chronic disease and the president's diagnosis. When you attach chronic to any diagnosis, that means it's ongoing. It's been ongoing and it's not going to go away. It is going to be something that you will live with for the rest of your life, most likely. This disease, this vascular disease, is irreversible. It's only going to deteriorate. It's only going to get worse, meaning the valves are only going to get weaker in those vessels and have a more difficult time returning blood to the heart and lungs for oxygenation to push back to your body, your major organs, and your brain. It can lead to many strokes and brain damage and also vascular dementia. Now, my grandmother died from vascular dementia secondary to cardiovascular insufficiency disease. That said, I think that the public or somebody should request or demand an urgent cognitive test to see where he's at cognitively. What say you?
Welcome back. Welcome back. So just like I said, I am not after him losing his life. We just pray if, whatever it is, his tenure ends and then he leaves and, a better person comes. That is just, what my prayer is. But I am not among the majority of people that want him to pass. I am not, because I don't know. I really don't want to say anything. But then, I don't. But I heard some medical professionals saying that this is really, really common. It could be very common in both old people and young people as well. So chances are that he will survive it. Chances are also that he is having a very competent medical team taking care of his health. So I don't think there's any need to panic right now. Just keep praying for him to get well soon, right? And then not just getting well soon by what we see, get well, properly, his whole body, his mind, and everything. If he gets well properly, I think a functioning America will start again. Probably he will retrace his steps, he will start doing well. Because from the moment he went to drag the championship cup with Chelsea, I knew something is not well. I said it here in my video, go and watch it. I said it, I don't think everything is well. I feel it's a kind of medical condition. I've always spotted that because of his age and all of that. But then, let's keep fingers crossed and then we keep praying for him. He will be fine. The thing is, he has removed health aid, Medicaid. I don't think that will affect him anyway, but who knows, you guys. I want to see your comments. Do you want him to pass, right? Do you want him to get well? Do you still want him to continue being the president of America? Why do you like President Trump? Let me see that in the comment section. I want it to be a conversation. Yeah, let's have a conversation about that, right? Oh, with this I am done. Please, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscription button right now. Turn off your notification button for more videos like this, and I will be back. Bye.